past decade, I have built, reviewed, and audited countless return on investment and total cost of ownership models. Given that I cover information management solutions, a good number of these models have focused on the value of content and email archiving. There are very few nuances, whether it's inputs or outputs, that I haven't seen until I came across C2C Systems' recently created email archive model. Before we get into the specific metrics that I find intriguing, let's spend some time reviewing some of the standard model components. For the most part, C2C's model has the traditional inputs, which are grouped into three categories. The first category centers on a customer's email application environment and the associated storage to support that environment. It is important to note that customers are asked to account for personal archive file storage consumption. These are more commonly known as PST or NSF files. The second category requires a company to input two employee salary metrics. One is an average burden salary for all employees, and the other is the cost of a full-time IT administrator. And the third category centers on the number of electronic discovery events that a company goes through on an annual basis. According to ESG research, email is the most common source of evidence and must be factored into any email archive purchasing decision. C2C provides a customer with a half-page questionnaire to gather all the inputs. This exercise in and of itself is a valuable exercise because many organizations do not take the time to measure all of the costs related to their email environment. Based on these inputs, C2C calculates the cost of its Archive One email management solution, including licensing and maintenance fees over a 5-year period. There's also a cost calculation of what C2C presents as the present method of operation, or PMO. PMO is simply a means for a company to understand how much it costs to maintain its current email environment on an annual basis. In both cost calculations, every metric from hardware depreciation to personnel expenses is accounted for. With all of the inputs and cost calculations complete, companies can turn their attention to the model results. The presentation of these results is where ESG believes C2C takes a unique approach in helping users truly understand the power of archiving. First, C2C separates IT and business-specific expenses. The IT costs include storage and backup savings, as well as IT productivity gains, because archiving streamlines electronic discovery operations. The business costs take into account general employee productivity, amongst other measurements. The two categories are compared against the present method of operation. By separating the costs into two categories, IT can see what they specifically get out of an email archiving investment to sell to their management, and then provide their management with a means to cost justify email archiving to various business stakeholders. The cumulative IT and business benefits are then compared against the investment in C2C's Archive One email archiving solution to determine an overall ROI. The ROI incorporates the cost of money over a 5-year period and substantial corporate tax rates, two examples of metrics that are not always part of a TCO or ROI model. After seeing the TCO and ROI results, C2C presents a measurement that will cause companies to think entirely differently about their current operation. This measurement is called the cost of deferment and is displayed as a monthly figure. In short, the cost of deferment gives customers a sense of their current email management and discovery efficiencies because it compares the present method of operation against making an email archive investment. As an example, ESG filled out C2C's model for a 2,000-person organization using extremely conservative inputs. In this scenario, the monthly cost of deferment was over $75,000. The reason ESG believes the cost of deferment measurement is important is due to how companies think about IT investments in general. Any IT investment, regardless of how good a specific product is, requires change, and most organizations are resistant to change. But there is a cost of maintaining the status quo, and C2C's cost of deferment metric assigns an actual figure to it. ESG believes that C2C's model will serve as a catalyst for companies to look more closely at email archiving because of the way the model presents the various TCO and ROI measurements. This includes an output screen that is designed specifically for accountants and controllers who are always digging into any IT investment specifics. The model is likely to force a conversation between IT and legal so they can determine the funding source for an investment. Or it may get email and storage administrators to add email archiving to the next internal meeting agenda. In ESG's opinion, these discussions are critical as companies cannot afford to keep managing email the same way they always have. Going forward, we believe there's a better way of managing email, and that better way is by implementing archiving.